Hello and welcome into the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. I'm Steven Serda, joined as always by my guy Rocky Magana. Rocky, if we learned anything about this Chiefs team today, it's that they do not like it when you stand on the midfield logo before the game. Just total domination by the Kansas City Chiefs from start to finish in this one. And I mean, it was the game that we've been waiting for, right? Like they dominated from start to finish. Very first play of the game, fumble return for a touchdown. Huge game from Mike Hughes stepping in for L'Jarius Sneed and getting a starting role on defense. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to L'Jarius Sneed and his family as they're dealing with that loss. Chiefs stepped up today, and I have to imagine the post-game press conference, they're going to talk a lot about how they were playing this game today for their guy L'Jarius, who's dealing with an unfathomable loss right now. But they were totally dominant. And I know it's the Raiders, and I know we assumed that they were going to win this football game. Like, I had no questions about them winning this particular football game. And I was a little bit hesitant to say, like, even if the offense gets things going, like, it's still the Raiders. And so you have to question that. But I'm coming out of this game feeling good, Rocky. Like, I'm coming out of this game feeling like, okay, they're back. Like, I understand the offensive output hasn't quite been what we want it to be, but man, you dominate like that in any NFL game. All right, I'm on board. I'm on board. This team is ready to go on a run now here in the playoffs.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, this almost seemed like one of those games where it was predetermined before the first snap. Tyrann Mathieu tweeted out before the game, to L'Jarius Sneed, don't worry, we got you today, brother. It was one of those things where it just felt like right from the bat that the defense showed up there ready to make a point. And if you're the Oakland Raiders and you're walking into a situation where you're facing a team that's on an emotional defensive high like the Chiefs are because of L'Jarius Sneed's situation, the last thing you want to do is poke the bear further and dance on our logo. Like that was I can't even imagine the disrespect. It was the dumbest move by a football team that I've seen all year, and it doesn't surprise me one bit that it was the Raiders that did it. The Raiders are not a good team. They're not a smart team. The Raiders are the team that we were afraid the Chiefs were, earlier in the year. They can't pass the ball. They're terrible on defense. They're undisciplined, and they're poorly coached. This was a bad team, and this was a good team dominating a bad team, which is exactly what you want to see heading into this stretch of the season. This is where you put your pedal to the metal. We didn't let up after halftime, and we just went for it. And I could not be happier. I am on cloud 9 right now, Steven.
Yeah, it feels like this one's been a long time coming this year. Like, the only other game I feel like where you could point to it and say you felt like this coming out of it was that first matchup against the Raiders where they dropped 41 points. But this one felt different, right? This one was, okay, we're done playing around now. We're turning this thing loose. We're going to utilize our running backs in the passing game in a way that we've been desperately asking them to do for what feels like years now, like since the Jamal Charles days, Kareem Hunt days almost. And they did it. And so I want to talk about the offense here before we get into the defense. And the defense was absolutely spectacular today. Like they keep answering every question that you have about them as a unit. But let's start off with the offense. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't have a huge yardage total today. He did find the end zone twice. He's being utilized in the passing game finally, and he looks effective. And the Chiefs are doing things with their running backs that stand by like what their offensive line is good at. Andrew Wiley had some struggles today, but I mean, you're getting what you expect from your third string right tackle. But Clyde, Darrell are both legitimate passing threats now, and that's an element of this offense that they have not utilized in the Patrick Mahomes era. And it's an element of the offense that defenses have to care about now because we've seen them do this multiple weeks in a row. And those guys can be dangerous when they get the ball. Clyde and Darrell, this kind of 50-50 time split that we're seeing from them. And Derek Gore had that awesome run for a touchdown. But that's what you wanted to see from these running backs. And they're doing it now. And it's going to open things up downfield. the way that it did today. The offense feels like it is primed and ready to finally like kick things into gear and turn it on headed into the playoffs.
100%. This was a complete effort from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He looked like a complete player today. He could run the ball, he could catch. He was in all phases of the running and passing game. He was effective. And Darrell Williams, he reminds me a little bit of Anthony Sherman in the way that all the like Andy Reid used to call Anthony Sherman sausage, right? Because you don't like any of the ingredients that go into it to put it together. But then once you put it all together, you got something that's pretty tasty, right? And Darrell Williams is not as good of a football player as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he makes the most of his opportunities. And you like what you see on the field every single week out of the guy. And Derek Gore, I mean, as a third string running back that comes in late in the game, he's a guy who, when he gets on the field, you can feel the excitement, in the guy. He is just stoked to get into the game, and he tries to make every single run that he has a home run. And you saw that pay off late in the game today, when they just put the icing on the cake. Right now, I think the Chiefs backfield, I mean, it's dangerous, and it's something where you can't just sit back in the zone coverage against the Chiefs anymore, because their running backs will actually hurt you.
And I think what makes you really confident about this offensive performance, even more so than the first one against the Raiders, is you're more confident in them as a total team, and the defense is there, and you have to pay attention to them now, like without a doubt. But it's the fact that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are still putting up, based on what we're used to from them, kind of meager stat lines. And it didn't matter today. Like, Mahomes finally turned it on. We got some shots down the field. The running game was fantastic in utilizing the backs out of the backfield. And it was just a total dominant performance where, like, the Chiefs are finally moving the ball efficiently and at will, the way they kind of were early in the season, but they kept turning the football over at inopportune times and kind of killing drives. Or recently, it's been the plague of the drops, where they keep getting in positive field position situations, and then they drop a football or something like that and wind up getting off the field. This is a first, like, I think, complete team performance that you can point to all season, where you're like, defense was dominant, offense was fantastic, and they didn't even need Tyreek and Travis Kelce to be special. You still expect them to show up and do that down the stretch here. But headed into this monster contest on Thursday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers, this is the performance where you say, okay, they're ready. Like, they are ready at this point in the season. They are ready to go on a run and try to win out and potentially get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. And they still have an opportunity to do that, even with their 4 losses being against playoff teams at the moment. It's insane. It's crazy that this is how this season has played out for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I mean, it is crazy. Like, I mean, where we were to where we are now, I mean, it's a tale of two teams. If there was one play today that I really think just epitomizes the whole team effort sort of idea, it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire's first touchdown run. Blake Bell on that play blocked 2 different guys. When Clyde bounced that back outside, Blake sealed the edge with 1 block, and then he pushed off of that guy and went back out and lead blocked on another guy and opened up that touchdown for Clyde. It's not the superstars that did it today. They all had decent games, all had pretty good games. Everybody played well, but we're talking from the top of the roster down to the bottom. Everybody showed up ready to strap on their helmet today and to make some plays. And it was fun to watch, man. It was a heck of a good time.
I messaged you during the game. I was like, man, we deserve this. Like,
yeah.
We deserve this as guys who cover the Chiefs, but also just Chiefs fans deserved this because of the up and down nature of this season and the struggles and the question marks at time throughout this year. Like, this seems like they have kind of morphed into everything that we expect them to be at the beginning of the year. And they are morphing into and getting hot at, this is the time of the year where you want to see them play their best football. And they're playing their best football without question right now. Like, they looked primed and ready to be a team that can go on another Super Bowl run. And with everything that they dealt with early in the season, it seems remarkable. But like, this was the game, I think, where we're finally going to look at it and say, okay, they did it everywhere across the board. It was total domination. And man, they didn't even have L'Jarius Sneed in this game, who is arguably their best corner. Like, this team is set up to give you a lot of problems headed into the playoffs. And we got to talk about this defense, who Mike Hughes, maybe the defensive player of the game. I know Tyrann Mathieu had a huge game too, but the Chiefs pass rush early in this game was just totally dominating the Raiders offensive line. They could not protect Derek Carr at all, especially on the first few drives of the game. They are total game wreckers now. Like, this pass rush with Melvin Ingram, even if he's not always showing up in the stat sheet, Melvin Ingram is a problem for opposing offensive linemen. Frank Clark looks explosive again. He is fully healthy. And Chris Jones is just the dominant force on the interior that you want him to be. Even Dan Sorensen keeps getting into the party and making some plays now. So we have to give credit to Spags in this defensive turnaround, because it really all started with him admitting his early season mistakes and saying, okay, we got to get these guys on the field who can complement everybody and kind of make the defense better as a whole. And then the trade for Melvin Ingram is going to go down as a turning point in the season for Kansas City. Like, this defense, I kept saying headed into the week, like, I feel like they're playing above their heads a little bit. You know, they caught a break against the Packers. No Aaron Rodgers, the Cowboys, Amari Cooper catching COVID right before the game, and CeeDee Lamb getting hurt early in that contest. Like, there's things you could point to on this run that say, well, yeah, that's why the defense is performing so high. But sooner or later, you put it together enough times, you got to just go, okay, that's just who this defense is. Like, they're loaded with talent, and we knew early in the season that they just could not be as bad as they were playing. And the defensive talent has finally caught up to their play. And now on a weekly basis, you just have to go, okay, yeah, that's who they are. They can be a defensive team, and you still have faith that the offense can turn it on. And all of a sudden, the Kansas City Chiefs yet again look like the scariest team in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think, hats off to Mike Hughes first off. I mean, he stepped in for Sneed on short notice, and he had the game of his career, honestly. And I think it's one of those situations where don't sleep on the fact that Mike Hughes is a first-round athletic talent. You know, he hasn't been able to put it all together in the NFL so far, but it's one of those situations where Hughes knew he needed to step in and play well given the circumstances, I think, and he stepped up to the plate. And he didn't let his teammates down. He didn't let his team down. He didn't let, Jay Sneed down. He came through for the city. And so, Mike Hughes, we love you. That was a great job today. The defensive line, you're right. Melvin Ingram, missing piece. It's not even the fact that he's the best player on the defensive line, but he was the missing piece to that defensive line because it allowed Chris Jones to shift inside. And then once you have Chris Jones shift inside, Jaron Reed's a lot more productive once he's lined up next to Chris Jones, and the offensive line has to worry about stopping Chris Jones instead of Jaron Reed. And then you have those three guys, and then what's that do? That frees up Frank Clark, because you're causing trouble all the way across the offensive line. This whole defense is a wrecking force. Willie Gay, I feel like, is the swag mascot of this defense. Every time the camera's on him, the guy's just out there having fun, dancing, getting everybody jazzed up. I think it was third and long or third and short early in the game, and he was off the field and he was on the sideline getting the crowd going. I mean, I feel like the spirit of this Chiefs defense is Willie Gay at this moment.
Yeah, I love Willie Gay. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite Chiefs defenders. If you don't listen to Willie Gay's press conferences, you should. His press conferences are always delightful. Like,
he's mic'd up.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see him develop as a player and have the huge impact role that he's had since he's gotten healthy. And it's just hard not to believe in everything that this defense is doing right now. And, I do think there was the motivation to show up and perform for L'Jarius Sneed based on everything that he's dealing with right now. And the Raiders certainly didn't help anything by standing on the logo before the game. It was just a bad move. It was just for a team that traditionally struggles at Arrowhead Stadium and a team that has really struggled since the start of the year. You're a 500 football team. I'm a little shocked you had enough confidence to fire off a shot at the Chiefs before the game even started. And they said, all right, it's like, that's okay. Well, all we're going to do is force 5 turnovers, and 4 of them are going to be fumbles because we're just going to be more physical than you from the get. And they absolutely dominated. Like, this is a victory to celebrate. And I've gotten on this specific post-game show a couple of times in the last couple of weeks where I try to be positive. I try to analyze everything that happened in the football game. But this is the game where, yeah, let's go out and celebrate because they did it as a total team today and looked absolutely dominant. Like, we got Josh Gordon in the mix today. Like, Josh Gordon got a touchdown. Derek Gore broke off a long touchdown. Like, this is the type of game where, even if it hurts your fantasy teams not having Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce having monster games, from a fan perspective, these are the games that are the most fun to me, where you see everybody get involved, where you see everybody have an impact. And that's really why I'm so happy today, because it was just a fun game to watch. It was fun to have one of these because it feels like we just haven't had very many of them this season.
Well, yeah, and it couldn't happen against a better team. I mean, there's only like the 2 most important games of the regular season are Raiders week, every single year. If you're going to win 2 regular season games, you got to beat the Raiders every single time. And the fact that they beat us in Arrowhead last year was a sticking point in a lot of people's, for a lot of people, and it had a lot of emotions, but I'm going to say the one thing right now, Las Vegas, get on your bus and just go home. There's no victory laps today. The Chiefs handled you from top to bottom. I mean, heck, this is a good enough game that the Chiefs should charter a bus, drive it all the way across country to Las Vegas, and then drive 10 laps around their stadium and then drive back home. Like, that's the type of whooping that just got put on the Raiders today. And yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to analyze from top to bottom, what went right, what went wrong. But like you said, today's the type of day where you just go out and celebrate. I mean, this was a dominant performance in every single facet of the game.
Yeah, and things are shaping up in the AFC to where everybody's looking around right now, and they got to be scared of the Chiefs. I think right now in the AFC, it's the Patriots, it's the Chiefs, and then it's everybody else, because the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Browns today, and Lamar Jackson actually left that game with an ankle injury and did not return. I hope for football's sake that Lamar Jackson is healthy, because I think football is better when Lamar Jackson's on the football field. But this AFC is really shaping up for the Chiefs to just to run the table and potentially be in contention for that number 1 overall seed and still get a first round playoff bye. Like, the Tennessee Titans won today, but they were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Titans still didn't look good, and they're dealing with a ton of injuries themselves. Like, there's no team in the AFC at the moment who you truly believe in, I think, aside from the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills are taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, and that's a huge football game, even though it's an out of conference football game, because the Bills just don't look very good. Like, you don't believe that the Bills are going to go on a run here the way that the Chiefs are, because they're not playing good football right now. Like, there's an argument to be made that the Chiefs are playing as good as any team in the NFL right now. And for all of the doubts that we had throughout this season, like Andy Reid and Spags and Eric Bieniemy and Dave Toub, like, this coaching staff from top to bottom has gotten everything together, and they got everything together in a hurry, where it seemed like it was a catastrophic start to the season, and all of a sudden we're exactly where we want to be. And we're exactly where we expected the Chiefs to be. And they've got a chance to go out and get that first round playoff bye, which just seems crazy when before this 6-game win streak, they were sitting at 3-4, and now they're 9-4 atop the division with a huge matchup on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think one of the most underrated aspects to this run that the Chiefs have been on is, Uncle Dave has the special teams playing phenomenal. I mean, Harrison Butker has been automatic. I mean, he's just been booming field goals from all over the yard. We're covering the kickoffs really well. We're getting good kick returns. This is probably one of the better coaching jobs in recent memory for this Chiefs group of coaches. Andy Reid and his squad, they really have, kind of honed in on what these Chiefs do well and kind of focused in on it. And Spags, I've never seen a Spags defense in Kansas City look this good. I mean, they're just aggressive. These guys, they go after it. And we know Spags love to blitz, but these guys love to blitz also. You can tell this isn't a defense that doesn't like to hit people. In the past, it kind of feels like we've had guys who've been talented and guys who can cover okay, but we kind of always miss like that nasty streak a little bit. We got some guys on this defense that just they like to hit people and put them on the ground. And the thing about it is we got guys in the secondary who like to hit people and put them on the ground. We got cornerbacks that aren't afraid of contact. There's no Marcus Peters, pushing guys sideways and hoping that he doesn't have to touch them. Like L'Jarius Sneed, Rashad Fenton, Travarius Ward. These guys get in there and they lay the wood from in the secondary. And if you have that trickling all the way down to your big guys, I mean, by the time the fourth quarter comes around, it's going to be a painful endeavor for the opposing team. And New England is the team to worry about right now. Bill Belichick's the greatest coach in history. They still have a rookie quarterback. He's a good rookie quarterback, but he's a rookie quarterback nonetheless. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain this momentum all the way through.
Well, and the reason I think it's the Patriots and the Chiefs right now is because of Bill Belichick, because I think that Patriots defense is truly elite, but I think you're hard pressed to make an argument that the Chiefs defense isn't elite at this point now. We'll find out on Thursday night. It's a huge matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers that is going to decide the division basically, and whether or not the Chargers can give them some problems down the road as we get closer to the playoffs here. But this is a huge football game. And so if you have any questions about the Chiefs, you can point to this Chargers game and say that that's the real defining game about this defense. But I'm sold. There's just been too many contests in a row now where Spags is just dialing it up each and every week. And he's finally got the personnel. It was a huge decision for him to finally, and maybe he was forced into it, I don't know, but put Juan Thornhill in for more snaps than Daniel Sorensen. And they got Willie Gay back, and they've been utilizing Hitchens and Nick Bolton. And then Melvin Ingram, again, is just, it's hard to even put a price tag on how incredible he's been for them and how much he's opened things up for the pass rush. Jarran Reed forced a fumble today. Jarran Reed keeps making appearances after we spent about the first 6 weeks of the season being like, is Jarran Reed even on the football field right now? And Jarran Reed is all of a sudden making an impact on a weekly basis. I don't think you should be questioning this Chiefs defense. And after this game, it's what everybody in the NFL has been afraid of is, oh no, the offense is fixed. Oh no, the Chiefs offense is coming now, and they're playing better defense than they've played ever in the Andy Reid era in Kansas City. And now the rest of the NFL is like, damn, we had a chance to bury the Kansas City Chiefs and we let them figure everything out. And they didn't. Nobody ran away with the division in the AFC West. And now we got to worry about the Chiefs in January in the playoffs again. And it's probably a concerning thing for the rest of the AFC, but it's good for Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, I think the Chiefs are the one team you don't want to draw in the AFC. I mean, they're the most complete team from top to bottom right now. They look like, honestly, they're the best team in the AFC in my opinion. The Patriots have a better record, but I think after watching the Patriots play against the Bills, it was a masterful coaching performance by Bill Belichick to win a game where he only had to throw the ball 3 times, but that wasn't a complete performance like we saw today. The thing that you kind of hit on that's different is Mahomes, man. He was making those plays. When the pocket broke down, he was scrambling out. He was directing traffic down the field. Tyreek Hill was breaking off across the field, finding the open grass opposite of Mahomes, and he was making the throws that he wasn't making earlier in the year. I think that was a big part of today, is that he was making those Mahomes-like throws that he's been missing.
Yeah, and so he's been missing those all year, and some of it is, early in the season, the protection was struggling, and he was making bad throws, and he was forcing things, and they were turning the football over, and then they kind of slowed things down. Where okay, we got to take what the defense is giving us. We're going to run the football more. We're going to rely on the short, intermediate passing game more. But you kind of saw every game there was a couple of those shots from Mahomes and they just weren't connecting on them. And then the drops really started to pile up, and those are drive killers to the point where like you could look at a lot of the advanced stats and metrics and stuff and still see like, oh, the Chiefs offense is still being like efficient and like moving the ball at a positive script, but the drops are absolutely killing them. The turnovers are absolutely killing them. But you felt like inevitably that stuff is going to be there because Mahomes is always going to be able to make those plays when the pocket breaks down and he gets out and he keeps his eyes down the field, and he's gonna get some of those throws because that's just what he is and that's who he is and that's what he's done his entire NFL career. And I agree, today they did it. Like he had that fantastic pass to McCole Hardman where he took a shot right when he let go of the ball, and then he had that one where he got out of the pocket and kept his eyes downfield and found Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill took a shot and actually left the game for a few minutes, but he came back and he was fine. So Tyreek Hill did not get injured on that play, thankfully. But all of that stuff is stuff that we've been sitting around for weeks. Like, they got to hit him sooner or later, right? Like the turnovers caught up to him. The turnovers had to regress sooner or later because we were like, it just goes against everything that we know about football that they can keep turning it over at this rate. And that finally caught up to him. And now this feels like maybe it was that turning point where the deep passes are catching up and they're going to hit a couple of those. Maybe it's not as much as they have in the past. Maybe it's not as often because they're starting to utilize those running backs more in the way that we wanted them to early on in the season. But they're going to get a few of them a game. And that's all you want really is an NFL offense. Like, we're just so used to 70-yard touchdowns that we think that that's like, oh, that's what normal teams do. And it's not what normal teams do in the NFL. You get a few of those plays a game and you got hope that you can make them count. The Chiefs have just been better at it than everybody for the last several years. But now that's starting to finally regress. And we're seeing the deep plays open up a little bit because teams are having to respect what they're doing around the line of scrimmage now. And we've been talking about that for weeks, and it can catapult the offense to a whole new level, Rocky. Like it can legitimately do that. And I think this game was a turning point.
Well, 100%. And I think if you want to point to a specific play that in this game that just was super impressive was McCole Hardman. It was 3rd and 17 on that out route where he went out and he broke to the sidelines and Mahomes rolled out and hit him and he got his toes in. That was one of the best routes I've actually ever seen McCole Hardman run. And the fact that he got his toes in, it just showed McCole's problem's always been a lack of concentration, a lack of attention to detail. And I felt like on that play, he put it all together and he was mindful on the play and he was mindful of what he needed to do. And if McCole Hardman can keep playing like that, then that's going to free up Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and give us that other option that we've been looking for. And the Chiefs need to keep on giving Josh Gordon those McCole Hardman manufactured touches that they did on the goal line there. Give Josh Gordon 2 or 3 wide receiver screens a game. Give him a quick hitter. Give him something to try to get him going because he's a big body. And you saw, I mean, Mahomes threw one shot to him on an offsides, free play, but I think if you get 3 or 4 short plays to get some confidence in his head and get some chemistry going, you might be able to finally get Josh Gordon going.
This is from NFL Network's James Palmer saying on Twitter, I certainly heard the Chiefs play the wheels on the bus as the Raiders left the field as I was out there for postgame. Chiefs used last season's game as motivation all week. Mahomes shouted about it in the tunnel before they took the field. Yeah, they remember that disrespect from the Raiders driving around Arrowhead Stadium after an upset win last season. And then the Raiders had the gall to huddle up before they took the field in the pregame on the logo, and that was enough. That was a deciding factor. Before we had even played a snap in this football game, that was the deciding factor. That was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff working for us. this week, and we're ready to crush you guys. And that's absolutely what they did. Final takeaways from the game, Rocky, moving forward. We got kind of a weird week coming up on Thursday Night Football. So what do you want to see from the Chiefs as they take on the Los Angeles Chargers after this dominating win against the Raiders?
I want to see the intensity of the defense and this commitment to be aggressive in the trenches carry forward and to dominate and push offensive linemen back into the quarterback. I think that's the way to beat Justin Jefferson. He's a mobile quarterback and get out of the pocket. But if you collapse that pocket up the middle and you make him uncomfortable and you hit him a good few times off the bat, then he's prone to making mistakes as well. And it's for the division, So honestly, this is our ticket to the playoffs if we win this week. So carry over the intensity of the defense, and Mahomes keep building on the confidence and putting it all together and keep being yourself,
Yeah, I would really like to see this team on Thursday night come out this way with the same kind of intensity. And, for me, it's okay. I'm all in on the defense now. So you got to prove me right. You got to keep playing like this, and you got to keep showing that you can perform this way. And I am confident that they can now. I think this is legitimately who they are. I started to make the turn early last week to maybe they're just a defensive team now. Maybe that's what we just have to accept, that that's who they are. We know they can still put up points in the right situations, and they just have to execute. And I think that's been the biggest issue for them all season long. We've heard Andy Reid talk about it a ton. We've heard Patrick Mahomes talk about it a ton. Their execution has struggled throughout the season. And this was the first game where I felt like they put it together from start to finish. And it's the only type of game that you can build off of moving forward. So I think you have to go into Thursday's contest against the Chargers with nothing but confidence out of this Chiefs team, the way that they're playing and the way that they absolutely dominated at home against the Raiders today. So it's a huge win. Kansas City, celebrate this one. Go out. If you're at Arrowhead Stadium, make sure you get home safely. If you're not at Arrowhead Stadium, go have a couple cold beers and celebrate a fantastic win by the Kansas City Chiefs. Please follow Rocky on Twitter at Rocky Magana. I'm Steven Serda. That's where you can follow me. Please make sure that you are also subscribing, rating, and reviewing everything that we're doing on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. If you're listening on the podcast, we will have all of the post-game press conferences available for you immediately following the show. So make sure that you stick around so you can hear all the comments from guys like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid after the huge win. And make sure you're locked into the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network, because Matt Stagner and Ron Kopp will have Out of Structure available for you tomorrow afternoon as they break down the entirety of the Chiefs' dominating performance over the Las Vegas Raiders. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let's get ready for Thursday Night Football. We'll talk to you soon.